When it comes to assembly, and clamping in particular, why do we treat miters differently from other woodworking joinery? In this video, we'll look at miter anatomy, some of the drawbacks of manufactured miter clamps, and build a simple jig that puts the clamping pressure where it belongs for maximum effectiveness. Coming up right now, here on Shop Tales and Lore. In most woodworking applications, clamps are applied at right angles to the joints during assembly. It's simple, direct, and effective. This is why commercial miter clamps have always been a mystery to me. While they may do an okay job of holding the workpieces in place, most do nothing at all to apply clamping pressure where it's needed most, at the joint itself. This holds true for homeowner-grade clamps as well as pro-level jigs. One type that does apply pressure to the joints is the so-called picture frame miter clamp like this version from Wood River, but a drawback with this design is that all four corners of the frame must be clamped at the same time, and if your frame is especially large or involves complex profiles that are difficult to clamp in the first place, this style may not be the most practical option. You can also do the same thing by cutting some corner blocks like these out of scrap material. The only limitation with this approach is the length of your clamps. Band clamps do basically the same thing, but if you do go with picture frame clamps, band clamps, or corner blocks, carefully check the angles in the overall assembly before the glue sets up. There's no guarantee that these types of clamps by themselves will square up a frame. Another direct pressure option is these squeeze to open spring clamps. They do put clamping pressure directly on the joint, but hold themselves in place with sharp points that dig into the wood. So if your project is pre-finished, or you're repairing a vintage or other valuable frame and don't want to poke holes in the parts, this method may not be the best choice. Years ago, when I first started thinking about ways to apply clamping pressure directly across a miter joint, I noticed that the jaws of most commercial jigs are too close to the joint for the type of fix that I had in mind. There just isn't room with most of these devices to apply a secondary clamp to the joint itself. Plus, there's no clamping surface to support a clamp at the proper angle to grip the joint. This is evident both with this inexpensive Sears version as well as this marvelous old Stanley No. 400, a cast iron beast. At some point, the idea started coming together for a miter platform, basically a simple jig that would accept standard bar clamps used in conjunction with these strips designed with a 45-degree bird's mouth notch to provide a clamping point that would line up with the joint. Let's build one so you can see how these components work together. Start with a flat piece of plywood for a base, about 12 inches square. This dimension isn't critical, but it should work for most moldings or other stock that you want to miter. Then cut a second piece roughly 3 inches smaller in length and width than the base. Now glue and brad these two pieces together to form the basic platform. The most important thing about the smaller piece is that the two edges where the mitered workpieces will meet must form a perfect 90-degree angle. Now rip some 3/4 inch stock to a width of 1.5 inches and cut two pieces a minimum of about 9 inches long. About 2 inches from one end, mark a 45-degree notch with both legs about 1.25 inches from the edge. Carefully cut out the notches at the bandsaw or with a handheld jigsaw. Now let's try out the system. Even though this jig was built with pre-finished plywood, I put a few pieces of painter's tape at the point where the miter joint will come together to prevent the workpieces from sticking to the jig. And speaking of handy tips like that one, if you're a serious do-it-yourselfer or home workshop enthusiast looking for a variety of helpful content in one place, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified whenever we release a new video. And if we've helped you today, please take a moment to like, share, and comment below. It helps these videos reach more folks, and your comments help others as well. Thanks again. Now back to the video. Place the glued workpieces in the jig, add the notched strips, and secure everything to the jig with a couple of bar clamps. Before tightening the clamps, position the strips so that the part of each notch running parallel to the joint is aligned with the center of the joint itself. Finally, apply a third clamp to the bird's mouth strips, trapping the joint in between. Here's the proof. That even, consistent squeeze out along the entire length of the joint means this joint will likely never fail. This just wouldn't be possible with a conventional miter jig alone. Here are a couple of other videos you may find useful. Be sure to check out our homepage and other links in the description for content on a wide variety of DIY and home workshop topics.